Another episode of the Women Writing Intentionally show with Jenny Alberti and Tracey Brown. We are your hosts, and we are going to be talking about all things writing and publishing, from insider secrets to our own author journeys. We are committed to providing a safe platform for women to share their stories, knowledge, and truth without fear of judgment, criticism, or betrayal. By coming together in the genuine spirit of collaboration, we provide opportunities for growth, healing, and transformation that benefit all women, both authors and readers alike. Our vision is to help our authors intentionally build an aligned legacy and portfolio that supports their mission as a woman, human being, and business owner. Today, we are going to be talking about something super exciting, which is our brand new Wounded Women series and our next collaborative book project, Betrayed. So I'm just going to hand over to Jenny for a second to tell you a little bit about how the Wounded Women series actually came to be.
Well, it was sort of an evolution, right? So you and I, back when we started working together, you reached out to me to help me with back end support for Quiet and Badass, and through our conversations, we started digging deeper into things that were going on in our lives, right? And I was going through a particularly challenging time that had a lot of the elements in it that resonated with you, and things that you had been going through as well. And we kind of just threw out there, like, yeah, that'd be a great book someday, right? Like, oh, haha, oh, that would make an excellent book, right?
Yeah, and in fact, I remember it was like a joke, right? I was like, "Oh, this would be
Yeah.
so funny." And I was like, "Oh, we should write a book called Betrayed: The Sister Wounds That Broke Our
Yeah.
Hearts, but transformed into opportunities for healing, growth, and abundance." Ha ha ha. And
Yeah, just super, super like in passing, just, I'll just throw this out there, kind of funny, right? And then while I was going through what I was going through at that time, I had put up a post on my profile, kind of describing a little bit about, what I was going through, what I was feeling, some things that I had noticed um, throughout my life that were repeating patterns. And the response that I got to that post was insane. It was probably the one post, probably in the entire time that I've ever had any kind of a Facebook profile, that I was overwhelmed by the responses. Um, Everybody just kind of chiming in saying, like, oh my gosh, I've had a very similar thing, or I totally relate to this, or, just overwhelming response saying that what I was describing was exactly what people have been dealing with and have gone through. And from there, I kind of put out another post that some of my authors inside Quiet and Badass, they also responded to and said, oh, this would make a great book someday. It was a different post, and this would make a great book, like echoing what we had said originally. And I was like, right? Like, well, there's something that Tracey and I are working on. And so that betrayed topic turned into, okay, well, what else is there? There's more than just this particular topic. And so that's kind of where the series was born. And then from that series, like, everything was born, right?
yeah, the whole
everything has been
empire.
evolving, and everything has been evolving and coming together and falling into place.
And I really feel like this is, for us, the betrayed journey that we've actually been on, in terms of, when I threw this idea out there and I was talking about how the sister wounds that broke our hearts and turned into opportunities for healing, growth, and abundance, both of us, you and I, were at this point in our journeys where we were still in the brokenhearted phase, right? And this idea of transforming this experience into healing and growth and abundance was us saying, well, this is what we want to happen. And as a result of, I guess, being open to transforming our pain into something bigger, the opportunities that turned up for us turned into this podcast. It turned into like building a whole empire. It turned into a book series. It turned into so many opportunities and exciting things that we've got still stored in our back pocket that we haven't announced yet, that will be, rolling out after probably the Wounded Women series. But, it's turned into 4 collaborative books that we're planning to launch in the next 12 months. It's turned into solo author book projects. It's turned into so many different things. And I love that we've been walking this journey for the past, 6 months now ourselves. And now we're at the stage where we're ready to start inviting other women into this journey with us so that we can help them to transform their stories as well and showcase it and shine their light for other women who might still be where we were 6 months ago in that brokenhearted phase. So
yeah, well, I was going to say, you did say to me too, that this was going to be like not just for our authors, right? But it's also going to be a transformation for us. And I think that what you pointed out, us being open to that transformation, was a key element in all of this really taking shape and coming to life. So yeah, definitely a point where the transformation and being open to transforming, not only for our authors and bringing our authors into that container to heal and to, be able to inspire others through this, but also for ourselves. So I think that's an important part to why we're doing this, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's been so interesting over these past 6 months going through this journey, because back in May, June, when we started this and we thought that we were at rock bottom I'm not, for you and for me, my personal journey and the betrayal that I was experiencing continued to, I was still on the downhill slide at that point, and I really didn't bottom out until mid-July. And so it's been since then that, for me, it finally started turning around. And that also did really coincide with us making some conscious decisions about what we wanted to do in terms of creating the book series and creating the talk show and starting to put the building blocks in place, as well as doing our own personal shadow work and acknowledging the things that we needed to, for me, acknowledging the things that I needed to let go and transform, and really getting curious and diving deep into how the sister wound in particular was really showing up for me in my life and in my relationships as well. So for those of you who are not really sure what we're talking about when we talk about the sister wound is one of those situations where it might show up like if you've ever been afraid of being judged or criticized, if you've ever felt isolated, alone, or excluded, if you have ever felt unsafe or mistrustful or insecure around others, it might indicate that the chance, if you've done that, you have probably been a victim of the sister wound. And one of the things about this is that the sister wound is very deeply rooted into the patriarchy and the burning times, where women were forced to choose sides, to either submit to the will of a society that divided and separated women from their collective knowledge and power, or to fight and die as martyrs for their beliefs. So we were pitted against each other. And it didn't start in the burning times. This is something that has been going on and on for hundreds and thousands of years. But very specifically, we see these themes coming up in the burning times. And for those who were forced to betray their sisters, it has created this collective trauma that has passed down from generation to generation, because we have this mistrust, we have this fear of betrayal, we have this general feeling that we can't even trust our own feelings, let alone trust other people. And it really does create quite often a dysfunctional relationship where we end up in these dynamics that are quite often toxic. And as I've started to explore how this has turned up in my personal journey recently, like I can see back all the way through into high school, all the way back into childhood, the ways that women hurt each other in ridiculous ways. Women and girls, little girls even, because we are, so we are taught to compete. We are taught not to trust. We are taught that it is, that the collective is not desirable. It's not safe. It's, and I think personally that one of the reasons that it's so important for us to be writing a book like this right now and sharing these stories is because the business paradigms and the leadership paradigms are changing. And in order for feminine-led leadership, and I don't just mean like female-led leadership, I mean feminine-led leadership where it comes from this space of leading through emotion and connection and being very much about being led by our intuition, that in order for this to become more mainstream and for us to actually create balance in society rather than being stuck in the corporate business paradigms where it's all about hustle and grind and year-on-year growth and KPIs and very much about the doing rather than the being. It's about, seeing people as numbers rather than as actual people. That if we want to be able to change and shift those paradigms, we really need to be looking at healing these wounds so that we can actually start to heal the collective. Because as we, they say, as one heals, we all heal.
Yeah, Tracey, I think that back to what you were saying, kind of about the symptoms and the ways that these things show up, the ways that the sister wounds show up. It's very subtle too. It's not necessarily like people may be thinking, oh, well, nobody taught me that. Like nobody taught me to be, to not trust other women, or nobody taught me to, compete against other women. Nobody taught me that, right? But it's not necessarily taught in that way where you can identify it. It's so subtle in the ways that we live and the ways that we interact with people. Or, for me, I can really identify with this back to when I was working, in fitness, and I was working, trying to climb the ladder in, at the company. And I really, truly just felt that every woman counterpart or colleague, they couldn't be trusted. They were a backstabber. Like, that was my reality, is like, women are backstabbers. Like, that's just how it is. Right. Because I knew that at any time, given the right opportunity, they would stab me in the back without a second thought to climb the ladder ahead of me, to beat me, to compete against me, to get whatever it is that I was trying to get. And that they would, essentially throw my ass under the bus whenever they wanted to. Right. And that was kind of the culture. And it wasn't necessarily that anybody taught me to do that, but that's how it was. And so I had to respond. And, that being in my early 20s, that was my experience. That became my reality. And just as time continues to go by and new relationships forge, new women that come into my life, that's my original thought is like, it's a backstabber. Like,
Backstabbing bitch.
yeah, I gotta watch my back, right?
Mhm.
So it's like it's a pattern that continues to
And then it becomes a
cycle through.
self-fulfilling prophecy. A self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
Yeah. And I think you're exactly right. It is such a subtle thing that it's not like we're sat down in school and taught you can't trust women, but it is
Yeah.
this concept of there are a fixed number of pieces of the pie. And if you don't get that piece, then you miss out. And there's not enough pieces for all of the women. There's not enough pieces for all of the people. But also that when women have been strong and assertive in their jobs, we're seen not as strong and assertive. We're seen as, bitchy or controlling or domineering, or all of these leadership qualities have actually been given a negative spin. And so we then see that as, oh, well, I remember when I was 15 and I worked at Burger King. We had a female boss and she was such a bitch. Like we used to think she was the worst person in the world. And this was like, it was so normal that the women managers were awful and the guy managers were really cool. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it probably isn't the case. I mean, really, if you're managing a team of teenagers, it's not going to be an awesome cup of tea, I can say, as somebody with teenagers. But, these are the ways that we are conditioned to then think that it's undesirable to become a woman in power, that if we want to be a woman in power, we have to be a hard ass, that we have to be aggressive rather than passionate, because otherwise we're seen as being too soft, or we're seen as being weak, or we're seen as being a pushover or whatever. And so we dive very much more into the masculine energy rather than the feminine led energy. And for those of you who feel like we're using gendered terms here, when I say masculine and feminine, if you prefer, you can use left brain or right brain. You can use logical creativity. You can use intuition. There are a lot, you can use yin and yang. It's all the same kind of concept. We're just, using the archetypal energies here of doing versus being. Okay, so I'm not specifically talking about men versus women. I'm talking about energetically speaking. Just want to make that real clear. I'm really excited about this particular container because I know that there are lots of women out there, women that we've spoken to over the last 6 months from within our own author teams, but also other women around us who have had stories of how this has shown up for them, how it has influenced them, how they have managed to transform it into a good thing, how sometimes this heartbreak actually turns out to be a good thing because it opens up new doors that we might not have. We talked about how you and I had to actually be open to seeing how we could actually even build this whole empire, create a podcast, create a joint publishing company, create a book series, and doing all of these other things that we've got, lined up for the future to roll out. But for other women as well, there are opportunities that might have come along that you wouldn't have been open to had certain events not played out the way that they had. And I think sometimes it's not obvious to us if we aren't looking back and reflecting on our own journeys. And that's one of the really powerful things about writing our stories and sharing them, is this opportunity to reflect and reframe and re-examine and see how our journeys have led us to exactly where we are.
Yeah, because how often, not everybody always sits down and reflects on things that they're going through, whether it is significant or not. You may not reflect on those things that seem insignificant at the time. Um, I know that I have not throughout my life. And yet those insignificant things actually, just like that story I just shared, right? Like, of working in fitness and trying to climb the company ladder, like, I never reflected on that. I didn't reflect on that until, truthfully, I started learning about these wounds, and then I'm like, "Oh, well, that makes so much sense." It makes so much sense why, like, I just don't trust women when I meet them. Like, I don't I would rather, like, when I worked in, in fitness for, the 17 years that I did, I would rather hang out with the guys. I would rather make relationships with the guys because the guys weren't going to backstab me. I knew that for a fact. Like, they're just my homeboys. Like, we've got each other's backs, and some of the guys from that period of time I still talk to, because we had relationships where we weren't competing against each other. But I really didn't. My point is, I didn't look back and I didn't, reflect on why that was and how that manifested into my reality, 17 years later. So yes, important for for a standpoint of, this paradigm shift, and also just in general for our relationships, how we interact and how we pass or don't pass these wounds on, right?
Mhm.
So, like, everybody who can reflect and does have a story to tell, which is pretty much every single person, every single woman on the face of the planet, everyone that does have a story to tell, being able to reflect back and just to share that story and to share how they are transforming that hurt and that pain and that experience. I think that is extremely important, and for me, one of the main reasons why it was so important that we did create this book.
Mm. And I want to just say here that for anybody who's watching this and is thinking, well, but I haven't gotten to the point where I have grown and transformed and finished healing, I'm still in the beautiful messy, right? The thing is that becoming part of a container like this gives you that opportunity to reflect, because as you start to write your story and you start to re-examine it, it actually is such a transformative experience. And, Jenny and I have both written several chapters now in books and led projects where we have shepherded other other authors through their own journeys and their own reflective journeys. And what we see constantly, time and time again, is how every author comes into the book thinking that they're going to share their story to inspire another person. But what they actually get when they enter into the writing experience and telling their story is that it becomes this transformational container where you actually find and unlock new layers of healing within yourselves. And this is the thing, Jenny and I have both spent the last 6 months embarking on this journey ourselves. But even for us, it won't be until we start writing our chapters for this book that we will finish unlocking this next layer of healing and transformation for ourselves as well. And I have to say, I'm a bit excited because I started writing my chapter already. So I'm looking.
I also just want to say, like, I don't even want to pretend. Like, I'm not even going to pretend that I'm not currently in the absolute depths of messy right now, right? Like, not even going to pretend. It's not a matter of like, oh, I've gone through this journey over the last 6 months and now I have this transformational thing that I've already done that I'm going to talk about. It's not true. Like, if anybody knows me, knows that, like, I don't know. I don't know how much more in the middle of this that I could possibly be. So if anybody is thinking, oh, well, yeah, I've experienced that, but I haven't really, right? I haven't really transformed. I don't know. Neither have I. And, you know, there are elements, there are pieces, there are stories, there are situations that fit into this topic, that fit into the sister wounds. However, I have a whole other dimension, a whole other story to transform. So if I'm in the middle of it and I'm going to be healing and transforming during the process of writing, literally anybody else can.
Yeah. And, you know, I think this is the thing. We can start writing, we can start transforming our journey no matter where we are. It doesn't matter if we're still in the middle of rock bottom. It doesn't matter if we've started coming out the other side. It doesn't matter even if we're still descending into rock bottom. What we are saying is that also you don't have to do it alone, because having support of, you know, other people who understand the journey you're going through is enormously powerful as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is one of our 3 books in the series, right? So Betrayed, Burned and Broken. So do you want to explain quickly what those other 2 books are, Tracey?
Yeah, for sure. So the second book in the series is called Broken. And this particular book is dealing with the mother wound. So if you'd like to find out a little bit more about the mother wound, you can definitely go and check out our website at womenwritingintentionally.com. But Broken is very much going to be focusing on how women are breaking the ancestral chains and generational cycles to create a brighter future for themselves and their families. So this is where we really have the opportunity to look at these wounds that have come down through the generations that maybe aren't even things that we have personally experienced, but that we are still carrying in our genetic memory, that perhaps our mothers or our grandmothers or our great grandmothers or even, you know, our aunts and our sisters and other women in our circles have experienced, and how that trauma continues to influence us, and how we can, as Jenny touched on before, we get to heal these things not just for ourselves but for the future generations, right? For our sisters, for our daughters, for our granddaughters, for our sons even, right? That we get to change the stories moving forward. And then the series will wrap up with Burned, which is about the witch wound. It is brave and inspiring stories from women who've overcome the witch wound to speak their truth and share their wisdom without fear. Because with the witch wound and also with the healer wound, it is very much about how we are trained to be quiet, to stay quiet, because speaking out is unsafe, because we risk that persecution, we risk being cut down, we risk being oppressed, we risk being seen as other, and we risk being branded as troublemakers, or, you know, being outcast by society. So it's very much for women who want to be the truth tellers and really share their wisdom. So each of these titles is available individually if you have a chapter that you want to share. But one of the really exciting things that we are doing with the Wounded Women series is that we are creating this mastermind container called the Heroine's Journey for the women who really want to dive deep and transform all of these wounds and share a story in each of the 3 books, where we will be providing a safe and supportive container with extra coaching and extra guidance so that you have the opportunity to spend the next 12 months transforming your life and your business and your story. And I think that is so exciting, because the women who decide to step into this container are going to be completely different women in 12 months' time. By the end of this experience, none of us know who we're going to be, right, Jan?
No, definitely not in a year, right? In a year's time.
I mean, even 12 months ago, when we just had released Aligned Leaders, neither of us could have imagined that 12 months later we would be multi-best-selling authors and international best-selling publishers, and exactly where we are today. And so to think about where even we will be in 12 months' time is just, I find that quite mind-blowing, let alone actually having the opportunity to do this healing work and, growing through this experience. So if you would like to find out more about the heroine's journey and the rest of the books in the Wounded Women series, if you want to find out about the other wounds that we didn't really touch on today, aside from the sister wound, it is all available. All of the information is available on www.womenwritingintentionally.com. And you can find out about the different author packages that we have available. We do have some special early bird bonuses. If you decide that you really want to be a part of this, they are limited though to certain numbers, and because we don't have a lot of spaces available for these books, and we know that these spaces are going to fill quickly because the response that we've been getting so far within our own communities with our own authors has been so positive, and we're just really excited to be able to put it out into the world now and share it with everybody else.
Yeah, 3 spots for each early bird.
Yeah. So if you would like to have a little bit of a sneak peek at the cover of Betrayed, because you're here with us on the podcast, I am so excited. Our amazing cover designer has just finished the cover of Betrayed, and I'm so excited, and I know Jenny's excited to share this with you as well. There is, lots and lots of symbolism layered into this. We very intentionally chose the designs and the colors and all of the things. So we are so in love with this, and the covers for the other books as well are just going to be phenomenal. They are going to be such a beautiful set of books. So let us know what you think of the covers. I can see that we have some of our viewers who are really excited about the covers so far. We do have some of our packages. You can see on the cover there is room for some featured author names as well. So if you would like your name on the front cover with Jenny and I, those are available as part of the packages as well, which is something pretty exciting for us to be offering to you all as well. So if you love this cover as much as we do, and you would like to find out more about the series, please, please, please check out the website, grab the information, and, or slide into our DMs, like leave a comment, drop a comment below, send us a message, join us in the Women Writing Intentionally Collective Facebook group and ask us about the books. Follow us on social media, whatever it is that you want to do to contact us, just let us know, and we would love to give you some more information about this series of books.
Tracey, I want to give a shout out to Camilla for that cover, because you don't really get to hear who is designing these covers for these books, and I just want to give her like a shout out because it's freaking gorgeous. So
yes, I'm just going to pull it up again for all of you guys to really just appreciate this because Camilla did work really hard. We gave her, we had an idea in our heads, and she took this information and she managed to turn it into the most beautiful cover that we are both so desperately in love with. And we are so thrilled to be working with her on all of our covers of our books at this stage.
Can you tag her just in case anybody's looking for a cover designer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Tag her.
Camilla,
Yeah.
watch out. Everyone's going to be like sliding into your DMs to have their covers designed because you're absolutely amazing and we love you. So thank you for being part of our team. So, Jan, is there anything else that we really want to be sharing about the Wounded Women series or Betrayed that we haven't already covered?
Other than we're ready to go. So we're ready to call in these women that are ready to write. So if you're wanting to be one of the, the 3 for each one of the packages, the early birds with the early bird prices, reach out to us, send us a DM, drop a comment, either Tracey or myself, but we're ready to go. So,
we're actually launching Betrayed in February. So we are looking to really hit the ground running with this. It is November now. We are launching it in February on the new moon in Aquarius because that's how I roll. And Jenny loves to indulge me with my moon things.
I do.
So we are very much, we are very set with this date. We are not going to be extending the application dates or anything like that. If you want to be a part of this book, if you're a full body hell yes, get in touch with us. We want to hear from you.
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to let you guys go. We are going to be back next Monday. We have a very special guest joining us.
Yes.
Are we going to tell them who it is, Jan?
Yes, you're going to tell them.
So next Monday, we are interviewing the incredible Denise Duffield-Thomas, author of Get Rich Lucky Bitch and Chill and Prosper, who some of you may remember 6 weeks ago when Jenny launched Quiet and Badass, was having a whole little back and forth with Chill and Prosper and Quiet and Badass, going toe to toe for #1 position on the Amazon bestseller list. And Denise ended up buying a copy of Quiet and Badass, and she has agreed to come on to the talk show next week. And we are so excited to be interviewing her all about her journey because she has published traditionally. She's done self-publishing, and she is also an introvert entrepreneur as well. So Jenny's very excited. She's got lots of introvert questions, and we are it's been so hard to keep this a secret for 6 weeks, and it's coming up next week. So we are super, super excited. So stay tuned. Make sure that you're watching next week so that you have an opportunity to see Denise live here on our talk show.
Yay.
Okay, so thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for commenting and letting us know that you love our cover. If you're catching the replay, please do feel free to tag us in the comments. We will respond. We will answer your questions. We would love to hear from you. If you would like to find out more about Betrayed or the Wounded Women series, please do visit the website www.womenwritingintentionally.com. so that you can take advantage of being one of those 3 spaces in each level with the early bird pricing. Or if you would like to join us on the heroine's journey and, see who you're going to turn out to be in 12 months, we would love to have you come and join us and transform and change with us and see who we're all going to be, because it's going to be phenomenal. So any last minute messages, Jan?
Nope.
No. Okay. Thank you, everybody. We are so happy to be here with you, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.